KUAW.
Now on the air in Kansas City, the Cheryl Underwood Show.
We are proud to be part of the KUAW family.
The Cheryl Underwood Show. Weekdays Monday through Friday at 12 noon. KUAW around the world on KUAW.org.
Good afternoon, and welcome once again to Wave Your Grades. This is KUAW.org, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, coming to you from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center in Kansas City, Missouri. My name is Carl Boyd. I'm hosting Wave Your Grades, a program that is dedicated to veterans and that features both students and veterans on the program. Veterans helping students to understand why they should excel, students explaining to veterans how they excel. The purpose of the program is indeed to have veterans motivate students and students inspire veterans. Today's program is a very special program in as much as since the onset of the pandemic, we have not been able to have the students in studio. We are talking more and more to the veterans who are talking to the students, and from time to time, our students do indeed call in. We are going to have a very special program with our students next week. Ordinarily, this being first Saturday, this would be the time that we would feature the SMART Club with attorney Valencia Broaddus. This month, they will come to us in the second week of December, but on the first week, to get us started with an announcement or two or three, we are blessed to have once again Rebecca Bradley, and our initial relationship began as she was the Minority Affairs Coordinator for the state of Missouri, and President, Director, Executive Secretary, National Association of Black Veterans. She will tell us, she will tell me. Thank you as usual, Rebecca Bradley. How are you?
Thank you. God bless you, Carl.
Thank you so much, and it is always wonderful to hear your voice.
Likewise, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. And you have an announcement or two for us
yes, I do.
This afternoon.
First thing is, I don't know if your audience know, but since the COVID, I have been COVID safe,
Praise
working
God.
from home.
Yes.
And I have my cell phone, my computer, my printer, everything, so I can continue to work seamlessly in helping veterans. But my telephone number is 816-352-2535. I will repeat it, 816-352-2535. And I am grateful that the veterans continue to call me. I have over 130 contacts in my cell phone when I only had one when I got started.
Wow.
So, again, I thank the veterans for allowing me to assist them.
I appreciate. I was going to say I appreciate that so much. I will certainly, before you leave, have you repeat that phone number because I have been recommending some veterans to you, but I have been using the wrong phone number. So I'm glad that you are giving us this number on the air this afternoon.
All right.
Please go ahead.
All right. So and the big announcement is that I will be full circle in my 10 years so far. I started off working at the state building as a Minority Veterans Coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Blue Springs for a short stint, down on 18th in Vines,
yes.
in the BEU building when I first got started, Black Economic Union. They were very grateful in moving me in and working with veterans. But now I'm moving back to the state building. And I will be on the 5th floor, room 529, and I do believe that address is 615 East 13th Street. We're going to try to keep my old telephone number, 816-889-2535. But
Oh,
anyway,
yes, go ahead.
I will be there. I'm moving on the 10th.
Now, our
2050.
assumption,
Yes.
our assumption when you say state building is Jefferson City, is that so?
I'm so sorry. Fletcher Daniel.
Oh, the
Fletcher
Fletcher.
Daniel State Building in Kansas City.
Oh, I see. Okay, yes, indeed.
And, right. I
It is in Kansas City.
missed that telephone number. 816-889-2050.
I thought so. When you said that, I thought, well, as a matter of fact, I was thinking 2080, so I was off as well. Good, I didn't give that phone number. But it is.
No, I repeated my cell phone number. That's so close. But it is 2050.
Yes.
And that's the same number that I will be using, or at least they're going to try to help me keep that number. Along with that move, I have now a part-time VSO. And they're going to get me, and they have been approved for another full-time VSO.
Oh.
I know. Kansas City has been underrepresented as far as VSOs, and VSOs are veteran service officers, and their job is to assist veterans with applying for their benefits.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And they assist them with answering letters from the VA. And so with that, as a Minority Veterans Coordinator, I will be able to do my job at a greater extent than what I have been. When I first started off, I did have a VSO, and then I started doing VSO work because I lost that VSO. And the need was so great, my job dwindled as an outreach coordinator because I was helping veterans, which is something that I love. And now that I am knowledgeable in the process of assisting with claims, that is my job that I love. I have to get out and inform minority veterans, about the program, the benefits that the feds and the state have available for veterans. When I say the feds, I'm talking about the VA. And then the state of Missouri, we have our own set, and even Kansas City has benefits for veterans.
Well,
and as you know, certain stores have benefits for veterans year-round.
Well,
so my job as a Minority Veterans Coordinator is to get out, I guess, with my bullhorn and tell people to apply for their benefits. Try my best to encourage veterans because there's just so many benefits that veterans as well as their spouses are not informed of.
Well, this is a very, very important point, and just repeating 816-889-2050. Not only do you respond to veterans who have specific questions, you can also receive calls when veterans have questions as to what benefits they have.
Yes, I get a lot of phone calls like that. And I get a lot of phone calls from across the river over in Kansas.
Oh.
So because I am just a stone's throw away from the border, I do encourage anyone listening who's on the Kansas side, give me a call. Because right now, when we submit a claim, it goes into one big hopper, somewhat, one big database. And they determine, well, if this region don't have that many, we'll send the claim here, we'll send the claim there. It's not like before where everything went to St. Louis, and then maybe Wichita may not have had enough people. So whoever is available to help those veterans, they're sending those claims so those claims can be expedited.
That is fantastic, and congratulations to you, and thanks to you.
Yeah, and I'm also an advocate for the veterans. You know, a lot of times when the veterans submit their claims, they will experience a denial or they won't get their benefit. My goal, as well as the VSO goal is to determine why and how can we correct it. Because if a veteran went in the military, regardless of branch, even if it was just boot camp, if they got hurt and they can prove that and they got denied, then it is our job to help them, do what we call a notice of disagreement. And it is also our job to help those veterans determine how they can find their evidence if they don't have their evidence. Having evidence is the key. When I say evidence, I'm talking about uh, evidence to show how you got hurt while you were in the military. And sometimes these injuries are debilitating over a lifetime.
Now,
And
when you say over a lifetime, and I hear you say that there may be proof of injury during service in the military, how far back does that go?
From the time they enter
So
the military.
that could be
And
World
then,
War II, certainly the Vietnam veterans.
correct. I do a workshop from time to time, and when I get to the state building, I'll probably have more workshops because we have conference rooms available. But if a person got injured, say playing basketball when they were in high school and they went in the military, and the military aggravated that injury, whether it be a knee injury, sprained ankle, the VA will compensate that veteran.
Wow. Yes.
Because that claim is based on aggravation. And a lot of people don't know that.
Oh,
It's my job
absolutely.
to inform people.
Yes.
And so they have that. They have what they call direct injury. That is, say, you got to boot camp and then you had to get out because, again, you hurt your knee, sprained your ankle, or whatever. You're compensated for that, even if you did not do the whole 10 years that you wanted to do in the military. Then there are some things that are what we call presumptive. And so you brought up Vietnam. A Vietnam veteran who set foot in Vietnam, if they come down, say, with diabetes, Parkinson's, prostate cancer, that illness is associated with Agent Orange. Certain wars have certain chemicals that affect veterans.
Wow.
And those chemicals, if a veteran becomes ill behind chemicals during that particular war, then the VA will presume that being around, those chemicals cause a disability.
Well, this is extremely important because every once in a while there are those who think that something happened so long ago that they might as well not attend to it.
And that is so correct. And you had brought up the fact that I was the commander of National Association for Black Veterans. And I want to thank that organization because prior to me getting this gentleman working part-time, I've been working for the state now it'll be 15 years in March.
Wow.
But most of that I've been working on my own. However, National Association for Black Veterans have been instrumental in helping me with outreach. Excuse me. We would do what we call vet rallies, and we would get out and we would have what we call a fun family day. And at that time, we would have vendors. I could not pull this off without them. Black veterans in the community want to get involved in helping the community, and if anyone want to join, we would be glad to have them.
Now,
and they can call me at my job.
Yes, okay.
Because that's the reason why Black veterans was chartered here in Kansas City.
Now,
I'm only one person. I'm not an island, and I think all of the members over the many years, some have come, some have gone. I still have few members, and I have not been the president the whole time. And I want to thank the past presidents or commanders,
well, let
commanders and vice commanders.
let me indicate
Uh,
to you that um, we will be talking in just a few minutes to
mhm.
a fellow veteran whose name is Carl Evans. As a matter of fact, he was the recipient of Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes from a young lady who nominated him and read that essay on the program. One of the things that we would like to suggest and pray that it is all right with you that you are not restricted to first Saturdays, and when there's something going on coming up, some announcement, we want you to feel more than free to use Wave Your
Okay.
Grades.
And I sure appreciate it because, Mr. Boyd, I know you're not a veteran, but in my book you are.
Well, that is kind. I'll tell you one thing that really gave me such an immense appreciation for those who serve. I was blessed with our R&B singing group, 1970-71, to do a tour for USO shows, and among our destinations was Vietnam during wartime.
Yeah.
And we were traveling under pristine conditions with the utmost of security and protection for 2.5 weeks. And when I think about 13 months duty when you're going in the bush and don't know what you're going to find, it doesn't come close to what they are experiencing with my temporary civilian experience. So I appreciate you so much.
And I have to say, you guys had a lot of courage to pick up and go over to Vietnam because that was a hot spot.
Well, that's kind of you to say. I remember one occasion where we were invited to do a show in Quang Tri, which was close to the DMC, and they were getting hit a couple of times a day. But our group was not as large as Bob Hope's troop, so they thought they could get us in and out before before they got hit. And two black officers came in and, hey, blood, and we gave each other some dap, and they said, what are they asking you to do? And we said they want us to perform at a place called Quang Tri, and the two black officers were livid, and they told these two white officers, stand down, don't you ever ask civilians to go to a hot spot like that. So as I say, they took great care of us and were very cognizant of the dangers. And I think I'd love to take credit for having courage, but we really did not know the degree of the danger when we went, and it was a privilege for us. So, but I'm sorry, let us get back so we can get to Brother Carl Evans, but I think you had one or two more announcements.
Let me see. Yeah, I did, and the VA will soon, and I don't know when. I guess issuing the vaccination. You know that the
oh yes,
workers will be first.
Yes.
I don't know when they're going to get the vaccination to the veterans. Once I find that information, I will let you know.
Please.
But their goal is to keep us COVID safe.
God bless you. That is so good. All right. And was there another?
Not right now.
Well, let me thank you so very, very much. We have a program where we want to pay tribute to a gentleman whose name was Jack Bush.
Oh yes,
Coach Jack Bush, and a couple of his fraternity brothers who knew him well So, in behalf of Waive Your Grades once again on a first Saturday, but inviting any Saturday, thank you, thank you, thank you to 816-889-2050, Rebecca Bradley.
Mm-hmm. And that other number is 352-2535.
All right. And that is
That's the
also
one that I had got
816.
mixed up.
That is also 816.
Yes,
Yes.
816, and that's my cell phone.
Outstanding.
Because the other one is not going to ring my cell phone.
I see.
But after the 10th, I should be that other phone. Preferably, hopefully, it'll be available at the state building.
All
I don't
right.
know, but we're working on it.
God bless you. Thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
All right, thank you. God bless you.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.
On Waive Your Grades, KUAW.org. You were hearing the voice of Rebecca Bradley. Once again, going to the state building, has enjoyed the title of Minority Affairs Coordinator for the Veterans Association, and continues to serve in the capacity of advocating in behalf of all veterans. And I was surprised when Rebecca Bradley said that those who live in Kansas should always take advantage of calling her as well, even though her new office is, or I guess she's back in the state office in Missouri. She still serves those veterans who are residing in the state of Kansas. This program is a very special program, not only because of Rebecca Bradley, whom we appreciate so much, but we are also taking advantage of the opportunity to continue a tribute, as it were, to Coach Jack Bush. Now, the interesting thing about this, and I think we have Carl Evans on the line. Is that correct? And Carl, is this Mr. Evans? Can you hear me?
Yes, barely.
Uh-oh. Let me. Can you turn me up? Okay. Is that better? I will get close. Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't know if you have us on Facebook. I don't know if there will be those who will be able to see this. But the call paper, November 27th until December 3rd, there is a headline that announces the passing of legendary coach Jack Bush. The call paper, December 4th, December 10th, has a headline, the passing of Mrs. Jack Bush. Coach Bush passed on November 20th, 2020. Mrs. Bush passed away, it says, peacefully in her sleep on December 2nd. So it is bittersweet that we mourn the loss of these two educators, but sweet because they enjoyed such a lifetime together and in one sense departed together. Carl Evans, your comments please on Coach Jack Bush.
Okay. I used to work with Jack Bush, of course, at Central. And one of the things that I did not know, I wasn't sure about, I heard, but I wasn't quite sure, and that is Jack Bush's first coaching job, first coaching position. I found out that his first coaching job was at Washington High School in Carruthersville, Missouri.
Oh.
And that is the same high school that historian Joe Maddox graduated from. And it was also the first high school that I attended when I was, I must have been 16 years old.
That's outstanding.
And then I came to Kansas City, and then I, of course, ran into Jack Bush again years later when we when I was attending basketball games with my nephew, uh, who is also a, a recipient of the Jack Bush legacy. So, in essence, we kind of go a long ways back, all the way back during the times when I missed him in high school because I graduated in '65 and he started at Central in '68. So
Oh,
I missed him. But later on, I was able to go to the field house and watch him. So I know little about Coach Bush.
now am I to understand that you are a Central alumnus?
No, no,
Oh, okay.
no, don't do that to me. No,
Okay.
I used to, I mean, vehemently dislike Central because
Oh no, no,
not
no.
every time that Lincoln went there, they would beat us with Warren Armstrong and Jesse Mitchell. So no, not
Well,
me.
I
Never
don't know if
liked it.
I
Yeah.
told you that our next telephone guest is going to be Dr. David Griffin.
Oh yeah, Dr. Griffin, wonderful man.
So when you think about his tenure at Central High School and playing basketball there, you have another reason to uh, take a look back at Central.
Uh-huh.
Now, one of the things I'd like to ask you about before David Griffin does come on is something that you and I and many educators of our ilk refer to as old school educators, and the kind of students who were inspired by the Jack Bushes of the world. How would you speak to that?
Um, I'm I'm thinking about the young men that he coached. And I'm not saying this because, I am talking to you. I'm talking from experience. The men that I knew that he coached, he took them in as boys, young men. When I say boys, because that's in essence what you are when you're in high school.
Yes.
But as they matriculated through the Jack Bush system, he turned them into men. And even to this day, when I come across one, even though I am old school, young men now refer to you as OG, which
Yes,
I hate that word. But
absolutely.
his young men, like Michael Walker, Daryl Bush, and Virgil Parker, all of those young men will say, "Mr. Evans, how are you?" And I
Yes.
appreciate that as old school. So he didn't just raise boys; he turned them into men. I mean, wonderful men who are, you know, giving back to the community in which he instructed them to do, as he was teaching them how to be men, the way they dress, the way they act, the way they look. I mean, he was the man of Kansas City back in the day.
I so appreciate that. And one last question I have for you, but you may have many more comments than just answering this one last question. But from Carl Evans to young men who were privileged to be coached by and or mentored by Jack Bush, what is the kind of legacy you would like to see brought forth, and what would you recommend that those young men and, by the way, young ladies influenced by Mr. and Mrs. Bush should do?
Well, the young people who were influenced by uh, Coach Bush, Mr. Bush, King Bush, uh, live by his example. If you can't, which is some heavy shoes to follow, you owe it to the community in which you live. I don't care if you live in Kansas City, I don't care if you live in Washington, D.C., I don't care if you live across the oceans. You owe it to him to follow in his footsteps and to maintain the legacy that he's known for. Somebody needs to pick up that gavel, as we Leon Dixon would say, Carl, and you would say, pass the torch.
Yes,
And
indeed.
make sure that that torch is always lit to a point where the world can see. When you ever have an opportunity to say who is one of the most influential people in your life and who taught you how to be who you are, you always mention your parents and then you mention that influential icon, that iconic figure in Jack Bush. So move that torch and again, make sure it's always lit.
That is so good. I appreciate it so much. Thanks, by the way, for mentioning Leon Dixon. He was on last Saturday. We talked a bit about Jack Bush, but I always refer to the passing of that torch as Leon's baton.
Right. Right.
And we're going to talk a lot more about that. As for this afternoon, if you get an opportunity to stay with us, you will hear Dr. David Griffin Sr. But for right now, thank you, Carl Evans.
You're more than welcome. It's always a privilege to talk to you and to talk with you. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Wave Your Grades, a recipient of Heroes You Didn't Know Were Heroes. Nomination, selectee, and recipient of that award, Carl Evans. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much.
This is Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org, emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center in Kansas City, Missouri, having the opportunity to ask American students to strive for excellence in honor of our troops, having the opportunity to talk to veterans who inspire students and motivate students, and talk to students who indeed excel, making those veterans proud. And as we talk about students, today we have an opportunity to talk about two inspiring educators who happened to have expired within just about a week of each other, just a little more than a week of each other, and that is Coach Jack Bush and Mrs. Marshita Bush, wife of Coach Jack Bush. And it is just a pleasure and an opportunity for him to have been so influential, and we could obviously extend this program to talk about the influence of both Coach and Mrs. Bush. But we have a very special guest now who will talk about Coach Jack Bush, and many people talk in very admirable terms about this gentleman. His name is Dr. David Griffin Sr., and welcome to Wave Your Grades.
How are you, Mr. Boyd?
Fantastic, but I'll get better. How are you, sir?
I am blessed. Thank you, Carl. I am blessed.
Well, let me tell you, we are blessed to have you come on and represent. Coach Jack Bush has been other places, but I remember him more for his tenure at Central. And when I say Central High School, you might know something about that location.
I think I might. So
speak to us about Central, but also about Coach Bush.
Okay. Carl, to put it in clear perspective, I came to Central High School in the middle of the school year, 1963. My dad was in the Air Force, so we had been in Europe for 4 years. And Dad was stationed at Richard Gabor Air Force Base, which is now defunct. And honestly, we asked what school should my sister and I attend, and we're asking the airmen this out at the air base, and they said Central High School, but they mentioned Central High School as the school to go to, but honestly, they mentioned two coaches. One was Jim Wilkerson, who was the coach at Central.
Yes.
But they also mentioned Jack Bush, the coach at Manual High School. And they said, but you want to go to Central High School, which we moved into, when we moved off the base, we moved into a district which happened to be Central High School. And I had heard about Jack Bush because I played against Jack when he was coaching at Manual.
Wow.
But did not meet him officially until I was a senior and was introduced to him. And he had a lasting impression. I mean, he was he was bow-legged and he was silver-haired, but a striking individual, not only as a coach but a humanitarian. And I say that, Carl, because when you played against him, he wanted to beat you. There was no doubt about that. But off the court, all the kids, no matter what school they went to, was his boys.
Wow.
And I always remember that about Coach Bush. When I went off to school, Jack would always say, "Make your parents proud."
Oh,
make your parents proud.
Good.
And I will never forget those words from Coach Bush. We did not communicate while I was at college, but when I came home and had the privilege of being in the presence of Coach Bush, he would always push, do the best that you can do to make your parents proud and to be a citizen in the community, be a good citizen in the community. And so he was an individual that cared about you. I mean, genuinely cared about you no matter what school you went to, but he would want to whip your butt if you played against him. Now, however, he never did beat us. We had a very powerful team, but so did Jack. Coach Bush had, he would take individuals who had little talent but a desire and make them into good basketball players. And so when we played him, we had to come ready because Coach Bush was a strategist. He tried to do the kinds of things on the court with his boys that made you play hard. Because if you did not come ready, Coach Bush would beat you without a doubt.
Well, when I think about Carl Evans, speaking of Jack Bush, and then mentioning Leon Dixon, and I was saying, and I have something coming up that will involve passing Leon's baton. And the reason I referred to that passing of the baton as Leon's baton is because he always told the story of his coach at Texas Southern University who had a 4x100 relay team that was Olympic quality. And he said his coach would say it's not so much how fast you run, but how well you pass the baton.
Absolutely.
So I referred to it as Leon's baton.
Leon's baton.
But the three of you gentlemen also have in common Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and I mention that because Coach Jack Bush was 70 years in A Phi A.
Yes, and not many living brothers. And as you know, I'm an Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity brother too.
Exactly.
Even though, Brother Carl, I know you're a Kappa.
Yes.
I respect that and love you.
Thank you.
But Jack was a 70-year pen. As a matter of fact, I think the fraternity presented Coach Bush with his 70th pen, Alpha pen. And many brothers can't claim that feat.
Oh no. And when we think about that, one of the things that I am pleased with in the times in which we're living, where there's a very divisive society, unfortunately, God saw fit to first nominate then secure the vice presidency for a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, of which, by the way, Jack Bush's wife, Marshita, was a member.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I invoke Kamala Harris and AKA
Yes.
is because there is an awakening in the universe of the significance of Black Greek letter organizations. And it is well, Brother David Griffin Sr., that we help young people to understand the significance of the founding of these organizations and why unity is so important in this moment in history.
Absolutely, Carl. I agree with you 100%. And I think it is incumbent upon those of us who have gone through so many years of division based on one's nationality, one's race, one's pigmentation of their skin to divide us. And it is incumbent upon us who've gone through that to help these young people understand the significance of Black Greek fraternities and sororities.
You know, one of the interesting things, you knew Joe Louis Mattox, historian, was a member of Phi Beta Sigma. And he and I had a conversation about something that had taken place in Los Angeles, California, or perhaps it was Compton or Inglewood, it was perhaps Compton, where there were actually young men joining Phi Beta Sigma who wore blue and Kappa Alpha Psi who wore crimson based upon our colors. And we had to address the situation. Carl Evans was on just before you, and he was talking about Jack Bush and those of us who are older educators, and he said young people refer to us as OGs, and he doesn't like that term because, of course, when you look at the Crips and the Bloods, they're talking about original gangsters.
Yeah, right.
When we say it, we're talking about the old guard. And it is absolutely imperative that we retain these mixture of colors for the examples that need to be set for young people. Let me ask you this question. I'm sorry I went on a diatribe. And no,
that's all right.
But Carl Evans, I asked him the question about examples set and what he might say to young people who were under the influence of Coach Jack Bush. I would ask Dr. David Griffin Sr., what is his legacy and what did he do for younger and fellow educators?
Jack led by example.
Yes, sir.
There's no doubt about it. He was not one of those do as I say, not as I do. He led by strong, and I emphasize strong.
That is so good.
Example. Jack had he stood on ethics. He stood on principle. He cared about you as an individual, not so much about your ability to play basketball, because he certainly is known for that. But Jack's legacy is that he led by example. How he lived, how he walked, how he talked was the same. He didn't waver. You know, Jack wasn't the way tomorrow. Jack was straightforward and steady. His legacy to me was that what he asked you to do, he had done and lived the same way that he was asking you to live your life. So his legacy to me was that he led by example, and that example was the highest quality that a man could be a model. He was a model for especially black young men, but he was a model for anyone.
Yes.
To follow.
You know what's interesting, and that I appreciate so much, was the fact that you indicated that he said, make your parents proud.
He did.
And the reason that is so important to me, having begun to teach on the south side of Chicago in 1964, one of the reasons we could be as effective as we were as teachers. Now, I used to work with young so-called gang members on the south side of Chicago, but I visited the homes of my students because we were educators at a time when the last thing a student wanted was to embarrass or disappoint his family.
Yeah.
So if you said, I'm going to punish you here, or I'm going to call your parents, young brother would say, oh, Mr. Boyd, man, if you got to paddle me or if you got to do something, do it here, man. I don't want my father to be here.
My parents involved. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. So that's why Jack always said, and I remember seriously. He said to me, "Make your parents proud. You know, make your parents proud." And in essence, what he was saying was to the light: make your parents proud. But if you made your parents proud, that means that you're doing something right.
Thank you. Thank you. And the good thing about that is it gives some credibility to the parent, because the assumption is if he says to you, make your parents proud, he is saying because your parents are interested in your success, because
Absolutely.
your parents want you to behave in school, because your parents and Dr. Griffin Sr., you can remember, because anecdotally we can go back and talk about this on and on, but it was in that day when parents would say, don't make anybody call me up at work.
For real. No doubt.
So here you had a coach, Jack Bush, who is saying to you that your parents are important to us. Make them proud.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely. This city has lost a giant.
Yes, sir.
We've lost a giant.
Yes, sir.
But the impact, though, the impact will continue. His legacy will live on and on and on and on, because he made an impact as a citizen. He made an impact as a model for young men, no matter what, as I said before, no matter what school you went to, whether you played for him or not, he was concerned that he would beat you on the court, but he wanted you to win in society.
Well, that sounds to me like Dr. David Griffin Sr., because you have, you know what, I've got a couple of minutes. Let me ask Dr. Griffin, when I met you, you were principal at Van Horn, but as an old school educator yourself, what is it that you would like to have seen, and what is it that you like to see in young people today in terms of following that Bush legacy?
Wow. You know, everybody talks about, going to school, making a better life for yourself and for your family, making your parents proud. As an educator, I want all young people to aspire to better themselves educationally by going to a trade school or to a 2-year institution or to a 4-year institution of their choice, and engage in a practice of determining what they would like to do with their lives. But I must say, all individuals who have been successful did not necessarily go to a 4-year institution.
Right.
I think the thing that I would say to young people is to be honorable in terms of what you choose to do, whether it is an educational route, whether it's going into the service. Because I came up in a military family. I would say put your faith in God, put your sights toward making society as a whole a better place by what you do. By what you do. Set examples for people to follow. When people talk about, well, what would you like your legacy to be? I would say, I have two individuals that I can look back on outside of my immediate family from the standpoint of coaching. It would be Coach Wilkerson, Jim Wilkerson, and Coach Jack Bush.
Yes.
Because they both cared about your future in terms of what you decide to do. So I would say to people, do not be influenced by the ills of the world. Stand steady, stand tall and steady in terms of what you would like people to remember you by. We're talking about the legacy of Jack Bush. Well, Jack Bush's legacy was because of Jack Bush.
Wow.
Jack Bush's legacy is because of how he lived his life and how he was a model to anyone that knew him. Anyone that knew Jack Bush knew what he stood for. He never wavered. He never wavered. And so I would simply say, Mr. Carl Boyd, to young people, is to keep your faith in God and keep your sights high, to make yourself known on this earth as someone who did something well and did it good for humanity and for yourself.
God bless you. That is so important. And by the way, are you writing and or lecturing? Can someone contact you if they need you?
Absolutely. My email address is D as in David, L as in Lee, Griff, GRIFF at KSU.edu. And I don't mind giving my phone number, which is area code 785-317-0820. And if I can be of any help to any young person, I would say do not hesitate to reach out to me. And I would do like Mr. Carl Boyd would do, is give you my best.
Praise the Lord. It sounded like Dr. David Griffith Sr. said, 785-317-0820. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. That is so important because you need to be heard from. And isn't it fun that you and I, if someone needed an example of an alternative excellence experience, that we know somebody like Curtis Rogers, who did Fairview Alternative School so well.
Yes, yes.
And needless to say, some others. Today, talking specifically about Jack and Mrs. Bush. I thank you so very much. Please allow me to call on you again and perhaps sometime soon.
You certainly may, and thank you so much for having me on your show, Carl.
God bless you, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are so welcome.
Dr. David Griffin Sr. This is Wave Your Grades. We have come to the end of our broadcast this day, celebrating Coach Jack Bush and Mrs. Mashida Bush. This is our message for today. To students across the USA, your Students for Boots message for this day. Men and women who fight for you can't wait to get home to see your flight for them. December 5th. Gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way home.
All right, you're listening to